Jonathan, as we look at this, and we've been talking about that heat wave coming our way for the weekend, this holiday weekend. How concerned are you about conditions as we look at a fire right here?
It's going to be, unfortunately, it's not going to be great in terms of the fire danger. It's going to be there. The good news would be winds won't be as much of an issue heading into the weekend with high pressure as it builds in over us. The winds should back off, but you'll have extremely low relative humidities. You'll have extreme heat. I mean, just north of our area, in fact, is already an excessive heat watch, and I anticipate that will actually be something we see in the next couple of days issued by the National Weather Service. But as far as this fire is concerned, I mean, you have enough heat and you have the relative humidities down at 25%. That's pretty low. The winds are up. That's the biggest factor right now, and you can see the direction of the smoke horizontal, and so the winds are blowing and they're taking this smoke, and that's a good sign, or a bad sign, if you will, that the winds are up in that specific area and they're causing or posing a challenge for firefighters. That's going to continue at least through the next few hours. Once the sun sets, it'll give them a much better atmosphere to get a handle on this one, but for the next few hours, I would say they definitely have their hands full.
Yeah, Jonathan, I'm looking there at that fire truck there on the ground. I bet those homeowners are feeling a little bit of relief there with that faucet checked up right by their home there, and that fire truck right there, and the winds blowing in the opposite direction of the homes there on the top of your screen. We understand 4 structures have burned here in the Paris area. We can see that, the homes are very spread apart here. But look at the way the winds are blowing. All those homes there that are below it, those structures there, they've got to be very concerned and hoping those winds certainly do not shift. We do have an evacuation order to tell you about in the Paris area. Let's pop that up there on our screen if we can to give you that information. If you have friends there, family there, or live in that greater area there of Riverside County. So it is south of Santa Rosa Mine Road, east of El Vaquero Road, west of Maywood Club Road, north of Rocky Hills. Of course, if you live in that area, I'm sure you know these streets and these roads very well. If you don't, we can just tell you this is the Riverside County area of Paris. But the bigger concern, of course, is with this heat wave coming, first heat wave of the summer. We've been very lucky to have a very cool June, a very overcast June, a lot of fog in some areas. Right there, we see a helicopter, water-dropping helicopter. We're going to bring in my colleague, Alex Michelson. So, Alex, we've been talking about not having a summer, really, until now.
Right, and one of the things we've heard from the last few weeks from fire officials who have held a few different briefings in a few different areas is their fear because of all the rain that we had.
Right,
vegetation. It was great for making things really green. Yeah. There was a lot of growth all over the place, but then what happens when it gets hot in the summer? All that stuff dies. And then there's a whole lot of fuel all over the place in Southern California in places that may not usually have them. We have been lucky in Southern California for the last several years without any major fire events. You think back, the last really big one was like 2018 in the Woolsey fire. And every year you think fire season's year-round. Last year we really didn't have that bad a fire season. And the fear is that this year could be, because of that growth, one of the worst fire seasons if things go the wrong way. We hope we don't get to that point, but it is a reminder that we do live in fire country.
And working in this business, the pro and con of realizing that when we have so much rain, we always say we need the rain, and we have the great vegetation, and it's so green in so many areas, but that other con side of when it does get hot and dry. Right. Let's talk about what they're working with there on the ground. We have 99 firefighters working this fire, 1 helicopter, engine companies. They say there are 19 engine companies. That's a little specific in the terms there. Air tankers, 4 of them. Fire crews. Well, let me say they're just attacking this from the air and the ground there. But again, 4 structures have burned. We don't hear of any injuries right now. Still trying to get a little bit more information as this fire is continuing to burn with those winds fueling the fire and hopefully fueling away from some of those homes.
We've got some updated information in terms of evacuations. We want to bring this up onto the screen. We got some new areas as well. So this is the current evacuation areas. We're talking south of Santa Rosa Wine Road, east of El Vaquero Road, west of Maywood Club Road, north of Rocky Hills, and the northern boundary at Blue Sky and so the new one is the one that we just said at the end, northern boundary at Blue Sky Road, that's been expanded as firefighters now continue to do their work, and we look at active flames, and you think, Christine, just of this is somebody's home or business. This is a place that they have a lot of memories, and for some family that is watching this right now, to watch all that go up in flames has got to be such a horrific experience.
It looks like two structures just by the size of it. Looks to me like they could be two different homes there. We mentioned 4 homes have burned. Alex, the minute we zoomed in on that, I just felt a sense of heartbreak for those families there, because people's lives have been changed in just a matter of minutes here. We think of this coming up on the 4th of July weekend, a weekend to celebrate and barbecue and be with your friends and your family, not to be trying to think of having to rebuild your lives and see if anything has been recovered or saved in your home and your property. But again, a heat wave is coming. The start of summer is really going to be felt here in the next coming days, Friday being the start of it. Right now, 86 degrees. It's always hotter in the Inland Empire in Riverside County, but it's not that heat wave yet, but the wind's here. So as we watch this here, you're looking at the charred ground there. You're looking at the properties that are not too far from that Foscheck drop there to the top and the right of your screen. Fire crews, they're at the ready for something like this. They are on standby for something like this. They go in just a matter of moments when they get noticed. But see, even there on the ground, it can be a very tough effort there with just one little hose there on the ground.
Yeah, and then, the challenge for firefighters sometimes is they have limited resources, and you got to pick and choose where you can go, and oftentimes it all kind of explodes at one time. So you see that structure there that is lost. Hopefully the other things nearby will not be lost as well. But you do see, the charred remains of where this fire came through pretty quickly, and the fire continued to burn. The effort now for firefighters will not be to protect that structure. The effort will be to protect all the structures nearby and to try to contain the damage already seen. So as we approach the top of the 4 o'clock hour, this is the time where usually Harvey Levin and TMZ would be joining you, but we are joining you now for special breaking news coverage here in Paris, where a fire, the major fire of this season, has broken out. I'm Alex Michelson.
And I'm Christine Devine. We also have with us meteorologist Jonathan Novak. And Jonathan, you and I were talking about extreme fire danger. We knew about that already on this day. Are you surprised by seeing an actual fire like this?
No, and in fact, this is right where the most extreme fire danger in Riverside County was forecast to be today. The have backed off from where they were last night, but still you're seeing gusts. The latest gusts in Paris now 19 miles per hour, but they've been up all afternoon. They've been like that, about 15 to 20 with gusts over 20. The relative humidity, big problem there, 25% all afternoon. Temperatures at 80 degrees, 85 degrees right now. The winds are out of the northwest. They're forecast to shift, but lighten up a little bit later as you get towards sunset. The most help firefighters should see is the relative humidity coming up as the temperatures drop, but the winds are likely going to continue being a persistent issue through the evening. Again, they could be stronger, right? So definitely have seen worse conditions, firefighters have, but there's certainly and obviously conditions to spark fires and for fires to continue. Hopefully they can get this one under control, and the next few hours, though, would be the most challenging through, I would say, the rest of tonight.
Well, as we heard of those 4 structures that have burned, we're also learning that there are 88 homes at risk. You can see that Paris is an area where things are really spread out, so wondering how those 4 homes caught fire. Were they near each other? We looked like one picture had 2 homes that looked like they were pretty close together. But if you live in that area, you have to worry about an ember catching fire, coming over to your home and flying great distance.
Right. That's the big concern, because somebody watching think, okay, looks like it's just burning in this one area. There's not much else around there. So how are 88 homes at risk? That doesn't really make sense. But when you have wind quickly as they are. And sometimes, as we know, Jonathan, as well, the fire its own wind conditions, which are worse, and that fear that those winds push those embers somewhere else, and then all of a sudden there's a new fire road or significantly down the road.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The fires will create little microclimates where the winds can get chaotic and cause a real headache for firefighters. That's always a concern. If you look at the smoke, you traveling somewhat horizontally to the ground, giving an indication that these winds are up. They are gusting, and they're blowing right now out of the northwest, which appears to be, taking that toward the terrain. But as I mentioned, the winds are forecast to shift later on to the south, from the southeast to the northwest, and that's going to be, obviously that would be a concern. That won't happen until a little later on tonight, though, so hopefully they can get this thing under control until before then.
You know, I was reflecting on a friend who'd lost a home in one of the Malibu fires, and it was like, why that home? Why that location? Fire can be very unpredictable. You do feel for those families. I'm wondering how much notice they to evacuate these areas. Look at that Phos-check there. It's almost like a ring around a certain area, but also you can see all the charred there remain on the hillside, and you can still see that there's smoke in different pockets. It's still a concern. Wondering how many of these people have wildlife they have to be concerned about. Horses, cattle, other kinds of animals that they have to try to evacuate and get out of the way there. Firefighters, again, fighting this from the air, and you can see there are pockets of still smoldering ember there that can take a long time, smoldering spots that can take hours, perhaps even days to actually be put out. Jonathan, as we were talking about the weekend, certain areas of concern for the weekend with the heat wave coming. Yeah, definitely. Temperatures are going to be a huge problem because as temperatures come up, relative humidities drop. And so just think about right now, it's 86 in this area that we're watching. This is the Paris area in Riverside County. Relative humidities are at 25%. If you get temperatures up into the 90s, and in fact, this area of Riverside County could see the mid-90s Saturday, 95 degrees, give or take, relative humidities will drop down into the teens, and winds are just light, 5 to 10, you still have two of the three conditions for wildfires to break at near maximum, potential for this time of year. A heat wave, and you're going to have low relative humidities. Fire danger will be a real concern the entire week because of the heat wave that's pending. Well, we were kind of looking forward to a summer. I think many of us were a little bit of the overcast and the gloom and that June gloom and that May gray that seemed to never go away. And now you see something like this, the downside of the heat coming in Southern California, where it is so dry. We've had so much vegetation, the rains. This 4th of July weekend, where we're celebrating on Saturday and Sunday, could be a tough one for some people, especially with that heat wave, the heat in general. But you look here, and Alex, I just can't, help think about what you were reflecting on right away, that this is somebody's home and property and lives and memories, and their lives have changed instantly.
Right. And it'll never be the same. The most important thing, though, is it is just property. And as far as we know, we don't know of any people that have been injured or, obviously the much worse, killed in this, thanks to the good work of firefighters and people's quick action to get out of there in time. So that is the reason that we have told you about those evacuation areas. And maybe we can put those back up on the screen. There we go. So again, we're talking south of Santa Rosa, Mine Road, east of El Vaquero Road, west of Maywood Club, Rocky Hills, the northern boundary now at Blue Sky. If you're at home and you know somebody that lives near here and they may be out to work or doing something else, you may want to give them a call and give them a heads up about what's happening, maybe to stay away from this area, or tell them to turn on the news. We're also streaming this live at foxla.com/live if it is better for you to watch it that way. But you do see, like right there in front of us, more flames. And those flames, they're kind of trying to let it burn out where it can, but could very well turn into embers that jump somewhere else, as this active firefight is very much underway right now. So they're calling this the Juniper Fire, and hopefully they'll make a lot of great progress as it becomes darker and cooler, able to perhaps
get a better handle on things. But Jonathan, I'm thinking as it gets warmer in the days to come, does this fire right here remain a concern, or can they make some really great progress on this right now?
I mean, it all depends on how much progress they make tonight. They've got a day tomorrow where conditions will be very similar to today, which is to say not extremely hot, but the winds will still be a little breezy tomorrow. It's not going to be extreme, but it's a carbon copy I forecast for tomorrow to today. It's not until Thursday and then really on Friday that the heat will really start cranking up and conditions will become much drier and hotter. So it really depends on how much progress they make on this in the next day and a half or so. But right now, we're seeing the winds, again, over 20. That's the biggest concern, and those don't seem to die down all tonight, and they've been going all afternoon. Since this morning, they've seen gusts of about 20 to 25 in the Paris area, and the forecast for fire danger was there. It does come down a little tomorrow, but really it's sort of negligible. I think that the conditions will stay as they are right now going into tomorrow. The best bet that they have to get this under control is going to be later on. Cool down, the relative humidities come up. The firefighters hopefully can get this before things get really hot later this week.
Well, we've seen this grow from first information, they called it a 15-acre vegetation fire with a critical rate of spread and immediate structure threat, to actually having structures burned. We are told 4 have burned. Fire has burned 50 acres. That's the last information we had. But Alex, with 88 homes at risk, that's a lot of people. They're very concerned about their homes tonight.
Indeed. Although the good news that we look at this now, you got to imagine that before our chopper got over this, it was really probably chaotic because a lot of the firefighters hadn't arrived yet, and the looks like this burned. It looks like it burned really fast. Now, at this point, you do see the FOS check, you do see cut, you do see firefighters in place, you do see, a lot of different crews out there putting in the work, you do see, water drops, all of that to try to contain this fire to where it is, and you don't see that just crazy, raging, out of control, don't know where this is going to going, we don't have any handle on this. It seems like they have made some significant movement on this within the last hour. Yeah,
you make a great point. I mean, with that FOS check there, and you see the white smoke, and you don't see active flame roaring up a hillside or roaring towards a neighborhood, perhaps those aerial units were able to make really great progress in excuse me, just a short amount of time. However, with those structures burned, obviously that fire was able to do some damage, and we did see structures on fire when we first went on the air here. But Jonathan, when you look at this here, and we don't see, like Alex was saying, fire raging right now, are you feeling better about things? Well,
it's a great observation that Alex is making, because there are actually 2 fire weather seasons. There's the summer fire weather season, which this kind of fire that we're watching is actually, meteorologically speaking, this is reflective of the summer weather season, where you get these acute, quick, these fires that start very quickly, but they don't spread wildly out of control. Once you get into Santa Ana winds, which is going to be later on, closer toward the fall, and in the fall, that's when you start seeing these raging fires with miles and miles. And so this is actually reflective of the summer fire weather season, this kind of fire. So that's a great observation, Alex.
Thank you. So we are looking there, and look how close it came there to that RV. Got some FOS check all over it, but thankfully it was spared. And you do see firefighters there on the ground, figuring out where to go next and getting their positioning in place at the moment.
Obviously, we're taking a wide shot there from the sky. You don't see everything that's happening there on the ground, but when we do zoom in on those structures, and you see that there are still pockets of flame in these different structure areas that have burned, you realize that there is still a great concern there on the ground. As we zoom in here, you see the firefighters there at somebody's property. You see vehicles still there. I'm wondering. And you're always worried, too, if somebody's not home and their pets are at home when a fire hits. So our thoughts, of course, are with the people of Paris, California, Riverside County, as they battle which is really considered the first fire of the season. That's big enough to note here as we have this heat wave. Summer is officially here. We're going to feel it this week with Friday, as you say, Jonathan. Friday is the people can expect to see. Wow, big change in our weather. It is here, the heat.
Yeah, it'll be Friday on. So Friday, the heat will peak maybe Sunday, but it's going to go into next week. We're talking about an extended heat wave. It's funny because Mother Nature has a way of really balancing things out. And she's in full force with temperatures anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees above average starting on Friday, lasting through probably at least next Tuesday or Wednesday, if not beyond. And so summer is here. We just haven't felt it yet, but this week, starting on Friday, like you said, Christine, we're definitely going to feel it.
Well, hoping most people are able to enjoy the holiday weekend and be able to celebrate with their friends and family. See these families here in the Paris area very concerned for their friends and their family and those that have lost structures. And there you see not only active flames, but Alex, that dry brush there.
Right.
That's fuel right there for that fire.
Right, and that can keep moving, and it's a reminder also for folks living in different areas about the importance of having defensible space around your property so that even if there's some dry brush far away from you, it doesn't necessarily to your house itself. So we are going to turn things back over to TMZ in just about a minute from now. We are going to come back on the air for the 5 o'clock this evening. Our reporter Christina Gonzalez and Haley Wins on their way to the scene. We will hopefully have live reports from them about the status of what's happening on the ground. Hopefully at that point we can give you good news about the progress, but hopefully we'll also have a little bit more information about what exactly burned as we look at these evacuation order areas. A reminder that that is something to be aware of, and again, a reminder to let your friends and family know in this area what they could be coming home to or unable to come home to because their home has been evacuated.
So as we kind of recap for you here, 4 structures burned in the area of Paris, California, that is in Riverside County. And we are watching this as they are fighting the air and the ground there. More on Fox 11 News coming up right here at 5 o'clock. As Alex said, hopefully a better update for you.
Now back to regular scheduled programming.
I can't nobody in the industry. They're gonna tell too. So please, boy, stop acting stupid. You can't accuse me of other things you know that you are guilty of. Like, get the out of here. Like, you can't be serious. Got me so hot on my mama, bitch. Would have broke or even playing with me if he was next to me.
So she's obviously furious. And by the way, she is saying, you cannot accuse me of something that you are guilty of. So she clearly is saying, you've cheated on me, and yet here you are accusing me of doing the cheating.
She's saying that he's deflecting what he did by putting it on her.
Right, and she's denying it, essentially.
And I will say,